And we've always tried to talk about, when we've talked to couples or groups, we've always talked about how it's evolved and how the marriage has evolved and how we look back on how we've come to be a couple married 25 years. And it's really hard to believe it's 25 years, but it's been an amazing ride. And we always start off with couples, and when we're talking, is that, we definitely found out very early that we were two individuals brought together. It was Kevin and Shannon, and we come from crazy family dynamics. My family's loud, obnoxious. It's not a good holiday unless Thanksgiving's slamming doors and somebody telling them to go someplace. But it always ended with "I love you," an embrace and a kiss. And that was our family dynamics. I also came from a small town. It came from a family of 5. It came from alcohol and some craziness along with it. Some genetic stuff that I have no control over. That's part of who Kevin is.
And my family was, what I brought into the family was opposite of his family. Even though there were 10 of us, 10 kids, we didn't have half the volume his family had. And we didn't share and talk about things the way they did. I mean, they would argue politics and religion and all those good things. But in my family, we didn't share emotions or things like that. I love you wasn't spoken but understood. So what we share with our couples is that what a contrast coming in. They're very affectionate family. They're a very affectionate family, could tell you I love yous. And when he would first told me he loved me, I bolted because I thought, what does
She
that
dropped
mean?
me.
I dropped it. And so I'm like, what? How can you know that? And so those dynamics, just a few of those dynamics and some things that we discovered in our Pandora's box, we brought into our marriage.
And what we learned, and we say Pandora's box, what we learned is that in our lives we bring in all this luggage from home, from genetics, from environment, and we grow up with it. And we bring all this luggage into this thing called matrimony, and we mix it all up. And then we open it. And I don't know whose suitcase I'm opening at what time or what year. And I open up that lid, and I open up sometimes a Pandora's box. And the Pandora's box in the Greek tragedy is lets out all the war, all the evil, all everything. And it's stuff you have to deal with then. And you're not ready. And what we learned over time is how to grow in communication. Because there was a time in our relationship when through our openness and communicating in my family, there was also alcoholism, and there was also addiction, and there was also some frustration in communication. And when we opened up a Pandora's box that was serious for her, we couldn't communicate. The lines weren't running the same direction.
Mm-hmm. And what was in our Pandora's box was that I had discovered abuse in my family, a vicious circle of sexual abuse in my family. So how do you deal with that in a marriage?
And how do I communicate to her about that? And that came together, and this is not something that was like, it wasn't something that was that just happened in our relationship. That was in the first 5 years of our relationship. And it was when we first were learning to communicate, learning to be with each other, physically, sexually, and emotionally,
mm-hmm.
and verbally and spiritually. And all of a sudden this was just hit. And you're wondering, what do we do?
How do we deal with this? So for us to get through our Pandora's box, first of all, I would like to say that we met through our faith. We met at a search retreat. And so faith brought us together, and we knew without our faith we weren't going to make it. And I had to get some help, or our marriage was not going to make it in that first 5 years. And so I did end up going through counseling because I knew we had a wonderful marriage, could have a wonderful marriage. And one thing that the counselor told us and taught us was that as far as communication, because I had no clue how to communicate about this. We didn't share emotions growing up. I don't know how to tell you how I'm feeling. I don't know how to feel anger because it scares me. And so she told me to ask Kevin, well, what did you hear me say? That phrase, what did you hear me say? What he said and what he heard me, say would be completely different.
I might go and say, the kitchen's a mess, and
something like
and then she'd get upset, and I'd say, what did you hear me say?
That I'm a slob. I don't clean very good or something like that. An example like that. That's not what he said.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the kitchen's a mess. I mean, there's dishes, and we got to clean. I'll help. And I think that opened up so many avenues for us when we'd hit these frustration points, and she uses it on me still today, and
we use it with our children,
and we have to use it more with the kids.
Well,
what did you hear me say? Because they'll react to it, because there's a lot of them like me, and they're willing and ready to debate and to take things on. But I think it's through the counseling. I mean, we had to die to ourselves so many times in this process of coming to the counselor. I was pushing for the counseling, and I was in a position. I talked to a friend who's a doctor of psychology, and we were dealing with abuse, and I was talking to him about that, and I said, how long do I have to deal with this? And he said, the rest of your life together.
And he said, that's not what I wanted to hear.
And so you immediately go, I said, well, we have to start working on this, and we have to get going. Nothing was better than when she finally blew up at me, because I don't think she'd ever been angry at me when I would prod her and push her. When she blew up at me and told me where to go, then I knew Pandora's box was going to get closed. Mm-hmm. And the story of Pandora's box is, once it closed, it holds in one thing, and that's hope. And I think in our marriage, that hope is going to really.
Oh yes, it's a constant communication. Your marriage is a constant, everyday, working together. And with that hope, though, oh my gosh, so much joy.